Trouble in Ottawa, perhaps, and we have new jerseys once again to talk about on today's episode of the Women's Hockey Report.
This is the Women's Hockey Report presented by Locked On NHL. Your weekly look at the world of women's hockey. From the PWHL to the international stage, it's the Women's Hockey Report on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, women's hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of the Women's Hockey Report that lives on the Locked On NHL channel and is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team, or in this case, women's hockey, every Saturday. Erica L. Ayala alongside Rachel Donner. Rachel, of course, is one of your co-hosts of the Locked On NHL channel, specifically the Friday episode with Gil Martin, and is also, of course, one of your co-hosts of Locked On Flyers. My name is Erica L. Ayala. I am your host of Locked On Kraken, and we both are excited to talk about the Rivalry Series. Once again, we've got games coming up. We have some news, interesting news, or an ongoing situation in Ottawa that we want to talk about, and then some signings. We'll close the show there. But first, it is an episode of the Women's Hockey Report, on the Locked On NHL channel, brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And it's also spooky season, Rachel. And look at this, our software system StreamYard giving us all of these nice little borders. Look at this. So we're recording on Halloween, but it's November 1st when this will go live, which also we get to celebrate a special holiday, especially for those in Mexico, and that is Dia de los Muertos. There you go. So for all of those, honoring and welcoming their ancestry, we want to celebrate with you as well. All right, we'll get to the hockey though now, Rachel, and I'll probably play around with those backgrounds a little bit more. But let's actually start with talking about playing around with designs and things of that nature. Let's actually start with Minnesota, because Minnesota made an announcement that they were going to have a special edition of their jerseys, which is like a championship edition. We get a nice crest there with the 2 stars, which is something we see a lot in football, or AKA soccer, which is like, you get your championships, a little star for every championship you get. So I'm not mad at that vibe, but I think I got a little bit confused because at some points with the wording in the press release, it was like, this is going to be like a third or like an alternate jersey of some sort. But I think is it just the patch, Rachel, that's the change?
It looks like it's just the patch,
right?
And they're saying it's just going to run on their jersey through January. So for a short period of the season, but there will be no other material difference in the jerseys for them on the ice. And, I think it's something you can sell, I guess, if that's what they want to do. I do have a problem with it because I think when you are comparing it to soccer, right, which is the right way to look at it. And I am all for the soccer mentality of you win a championship, you get a star, right? You win World Cup, you get a star. You win the MLS championship, you get a star. Like, love that tradition. I am okay with transplanting that tradition to hockey and putting it on the jersey somewhere, whether it's centered on the front of the jersey or on the shoulder or, above or below your number, whatever you want to do to implement it. I think it's a fun thing that you can port over from soccer into hockey. My problem with it is making it a whole big patch with the trophy and making it a temporary thing. It's you either have it in perpetuity or you don't have it at all.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
That makes a lot of sense. And again, we talked about this in a different kind of way when it came to the inaugural season jerseys for Seattle and Vancouver, because apparently, those are placeholders for what their jerseys for the actual season will look like, ? I don't understand. And also, like, they're going to be the champions the reigning champions all season until we get to the postseason, when they will then go to try to be defending champions if they make it there, to the format that we don't yet
Right.
know. So I just don't. Again, I find myself, we posted this on our social media, but like being Jennifer Lawrence, like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, and that's why I don't love it. I think it's just it's like a short-sighted version of what they do in soccer, and it doesn't really mean much. I love it in like the NHL. There's a special Stanley Cup playoffs or Stanley Cup final patch they wear on their jerseys during that series.
Hmm.
That's interesting, but a defending champion patch is a little weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you. Like, again, because they're the champions. Like, they've earned it,
Which,
and also,
I guess.
oh, the
No,
Minnesota
no,
CrossFit.
that's actually like, legitimate. I think they are the defending champions. They should be allowed to do what they want. I just think it's kind of weird.
It is strange. It's kind of like, if I take it to women's basketball, the Chicago Sky wanted to suspend Angel Reese for half of a game. At that point, I'm like, it's a little bit of a joke, right? It's like, just go whole hog, right? and
Right.
and that's how I feel here. They again, they've earned those 2 stars. Nothing that happens this season is going to take that away. So why we have to wait until January, why it's only in January when they are the 2-time champions, not only all season but for the rest of the franchise's existence. Just give them the patch. Like, let them keep the patch. So this is weird. This is strange. Maybe it goes back to some of the things that we've heard said about our comments about PWHL Seattle and PWHL Vancouver. Like, is this a manufacturing thing? I mean, there's a lot going on in the world, or as it relates to the United States, when it comes to exchanging of goods. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for another podcast. But I and even if you hold space for that, then it's kind of like, maybe just announce it for when you're going to be closer to when you're wearing the patches, so that then I guess maybe we'd be less upset. I don't even know if that would be the case either. So I don't know. It's just a little strange. Half baked, I think, is kind of the best way to say it. But I think either way, Minnesota Frost fans know who the champs are, and I'm sure that most of them, although they would appreciate the patch, they won't be waiting on the patch to celebrate that their favorite ice hockey team are the 2-time Walter Cup champions. So again, a little bit of an oddity, but we move on. We wanted to talk about something happening in Ottawa, Rachel, and that is a little less pleasant, but we did see that Amy Shearer and Jana Hefford made their way to the public forums that have been happening, as the arena where the Ottawa Charge play is, it's a little on the older side, and there are plans for a new one, but that has caused a little bit of controversy because it would have 2,000 fewer seats, Rachel, than where we see the Ottawa Charge playing right now. And that, from what we're hearing from league officials, is simply too small to sustain the Ottawa Charge and their momentum.
Yeah, we saw the games over these past couple of seasons always jam-packed, and so to reduce that capacity by 2,000, especially when you have season ticket holders in place,
Mhm.
you can't, like, take away season tickets from people at a certain point, and of course, you wanna expand the fan base and expand the capacity. Like, if anything, Ottawa should be looking to expand capacity and have a larger arena down the road.
Absolutely, and I think it goes into what we've been hearing from the PWHL over the years, right? Even when it became when we were talking and heard from Amy Shearer on the show about the RFP process and things of that nature, it seems clear, especially as we continue to hear reports that there is more expansion coming, that this league has an idea in mind of what is proper for their level of play. And we've gone over some of the attendance numbers as we know them, Rachel, in the facilities that exist. But I thought it would be on this episode a good time to go over those again. So just as a reminder, TD Place, where Ottawa plays now, it has a capacity of 9,862. So the reports that we're hearing from the conversations, the public forums that are happening now about this new or the proposal for the new arena is that that would have 2,000 fewer seats or capacity. It has a capacity of 2,000 less than that. And that's why the PWHL has concerns. So if we brought that down by 2,000, that would be 7,862. And so let's kind of see where that would put them within the range of what we're seeing throughout the PWHL.
Yeah, it's, obviously we have a couple of teams that play in the NHL arenas here with Minnesota and now Seattle with a capacity up to, 17, 18,000 there. Vancouver, which in their expansion has very prominently selected Pacific Coliseum as their home venue, and they are the primary tenant in that venue there with a capacity of over 16,000 for hockey, which, is short of where the Canucks play, but still a very high number here, which I have no doubt they can fill, right? And, then it gets a little smaller from there when you look at Toronto with, 8,140, there, Boston, 6,500, Montreal in Place Belle with a little over 10,000, but still, very large capacity there. So if we're talking about lowering, where Ottawa plays down to like, 7,800, which would be below where Toronto plays right now, I just don't see that as being feasible.
Yeah, and that's what the league is saying. And Jana Hefford had some things to say. And because some of the criticism that the league is getting right now is that they have been supportive of the plan for the new arena. And so Jana Hefford saying whenever the group USEG asked us to endorse the project or come and speak in support, we've done it every time. All the while, USEG continually told us there would be a proper time to discuss arena capacity. So I just want to stop there, Rachel, because the league is saying that they had talked about and broached that capacity was an issue in the plans as they had seen them, and that's why they wanted this seat to the table. And so what Jana Hefford is saying here is that showing public support, because behind the scenes or outside of the limelight, they were being told that they would have an opportunity to talk about capacity. But as she continues on and saying that didn't happen, their support was used for the project, but they weren't able to speak about the project in meetings and things of that nature. She goes on to say, the last straw came last week when the mayor and USEG presented the final plan. And it was clear to us at that point that those discussions would not occur. The discussions, of course, being about capacity. Amy Shearer goes on to say, we were told come and support the project. If you don't support the project, we don't think we'll get past this phase. And we were specifically told capacity would be discussed at a later date. So being the good kids, the new kids on the block, 100% yes, we supported the project. But now what we're hearing the PWHL say is that if they had a choice between what this new facility will be at, again, 2,000 less in capacity versus dealing with what TD Place looks like, knowing that maybe some renovations could be possible, they're going to opt for TD Place and just stay where they're at. And so I think what is worth noting here, just, and the Ottawa Citizen is where I'm getting a lot of the quotes, or is where I'm getting the quotes that we just read there. I think it's fair to say that neither one of us live in Ottawa, so the municipal and kind of the public politics, local politics that are involved here, we can't speak to. That being said, it seems, at least from this article, to suggest that perhaps while it may be true that the league didn't or was told that they would have those conversations. There is also an entertainment of, and perhaps from the city side, wondering if the PWHL is trying to kind of push the issue so that they can get themselves a favorable deal for whatever location they feel is best capacity wise, which seems like TD Place. So, and then there were some odd things that were reported about the CBA only lasts until 2031. So, how can the city of Ottawa know that the league is committed beyond then? Which I think is fair to say, Rachel, that there are conversations that entities that own sports are able to have even beyond the collective bargaining agreement. So I didn't necessarily think that was the most salient point to be made, but I digress. Just offering up the information that we know with the caveat that we live in the United States and certainly not in Ottawa. But we just wanted to state and keep apprised on that because it could have a massive change. And I think Ottawa showed to what end it will make a political argument, but I do think the Ottawa Charge fans have shown time in and time out that they are not only willing participants, but very passionate participants when it comes to the PWHL.
And there are very similar feelings across the border in terms of public funding of private venue construction. So,
yes,
I think it's an issue that there is definitely some shared feelings about across the border.
Indeed, they're not easy questions. And as much as some may wish at times that politics and sports were separate, alas, here we go. Because when it comes to venues and things of that nature, you have to go through the political arm as sports entities. But we're going to continue on here. We're going to talk about the rivalry series. We've got the games coming up. The players will, at least from the United States, will get together on Sunday. And we're going to hear from Hilary Knight. She was at the Team USA Media Summit in New York City. I was able to catch up with her and hear about this heated rivalry between the US and Canada, including, from her recollection, what's the worst that it's really ever been. So we'll hear from Hilary Knight, and then we'll close out the show with some PWHL news.
Hockey season is officially here for the men, and nothing beats being in the arena for those games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in online queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team, like the Philadelphia Flyers. That is where Game Time comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. One of my favorite features is you can see exactly what your view looks like before buying tickets with their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are also a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you can save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25. I recently used Game Time to grab seats for a concert at MSG. It could not have been simpler. I had great seats in minutes. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go.
All right, we are back here for the Women's Hockey Report. Erica L. Ayala, Rachel Donner here, your co-hosts of the Women's Hockey Report. Again, happy Dia de los Muertos to all who are celebrating. And if you are still having your spooky season time, then we support it, and all that entails. For me, I'm spending some time with one of my sisters. We're going to do some midnight margaritas, which I'm super excited about. Practical magic style, yeah, for sure. But Rachel, we are spooky season for us also means that we are in hockey season. And as we get a better feel for the PWHL, it does seem like that late November is going to be the target start time. So we'll see what that looks like. But before the PWHL gets started, it looks like we can also get used to, in the years to come, some international ice hockey just before the PWHL season. And for this go round, that means the Rivalry Series is back. Now, we talked about it a little bit last week, Rachel, but worth just going over again, and we'll hear from Hilary Knight. But, it's a little bit of a youth movement we talked about last time. But there's also some pretty good vets that you have. Knight, for sure, Kendall Coyne Schofield, Lee Steckline. But what we don't know yet, Rachel, is who will be competing on the Canadian side. Now, we can certainly make some assumptions. I mean, as we've said before on the program, death taxes MPP, right? But with
Right.
with no official rivalry series roster, Rachel, that was a lot of R's. I love it. Um, who are some names that you can almost guarantee, like if we were to put in the bets for our next sponsor, who would you put heavy money on? And maybe who are some names that you hope to see for this rivalry series?
Right. Well, we do have the invite list from their orientation camp to
Mhm.
draw from, right? Because it's
Yep.
going to be from that list, pretty much guaranteed. And of course, we're going to see Anne Renee Debian as one of the goaltenders. But given this is the Rivalry Series, we talked about this a little bit last week, where this is a chance for some of the experimentation to take place. And, they need to maybe figure out who their backups are going to be more clearly. It could be that we'll see more of Emrance Mashmeyer
Mhm.
in these games, or a Kaylee Osborne, to see where they stack up here, as far as who's going to be your third goaltender in the rotation there. As far as the other players go, of course Laura Stacey is going to be there as well.
It's a good
And
choice.
yeah, I'm certainly expecting Sophie Jakes to be a part of this roster. Sarah Fillier, Sarah Nurse, Emma Malte. Now, we still also do not know the answer about Hannah Miller yet. We have not
Yep.
gotten a ruling on her eligibility. So that is a big question heading into the rivalry series, which will lead into the Olympics.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about Hannah Miller, and for those who are joining us on this topic for the first time, Hannah Miller has competed in the Olympics for Team China. That was at the Beijing Olympics, where China was the host nation, and so and we've also talked about this before, Rachel, as well. There are ways that you can change. Specifically through the governing body of your sport, there are ways for you to change your delegation. And so Hannah Miller and Hockey Canada have been trying to go through that process, but we have not gotten a final confirmation. But of course, if Hannah Miller is deemed ineligible, then she would not be able to compete at the, official international competitions for Hockey Canada. Again, for those who keep up with basketball, Nneka Ogwumike has been trying to do this and has been denied 3 different times now from the FIBA, which is the International Basketball Association, to play for Nigeria. So anyway, yeah, I mean, having Hannah Miller and having a final decision on Hannah Miller, I'm sure, is something Hockey Canada would like to have sooner rather than later, especially because her head coach and GM from Toronto, who have seen and been with Miller the last 2 seasons, I should say, they know what Miller can do and what Miller has done for the Scepters, and we've talked about Miller as well. So to have that for Hockey Canada would be huge, but unfortunately, we just don't have a deliberation as of yet. For me, I mean, the usual suspects you named. I think what I think also, again, Canada seems to me, Rachel, just based on what you said and conversations we've had before, they seem to be in a similar situation as the United States, but just at a different part of the timeline. And what I mean there is that we saw that things got really stagnant behind Rigsby for a time there, right? And then, we just haven't been able to see young talent be able to work their way into things like the rivalry series, so that we have a really good gauge, at least as a viewers and observers, um, to see what really is available in net.
Right. And, the trend has been you have two, elite level, now pro level goaltenders, and your third goaltender is going to be a college player to try and give them that international experience. So we have Ava McNaughton on the Team USA side from the University of Wisconsin as that representative. The orientation camp had Eve Gascon from Minnesota Duluth on the Canada side. So will she be there as part of the Rivalry Series to get some games in and get that elite level experience? Remains to be seen. But I think that's something to keep an eye on as far as, to your point, how do you get the younger goaltenders the experience they need so they can take over when it's time?
Exactly. So, will the rivalry series be that for Canada, as we've seen the US make that trend? Again, I don't think you really go wrong when you have Emrance Mashmeyer and, of course, Anne-Renee Desbiens. So it's not a matter of what they can do. We still know they can be very lethal with those two goaltenders. And if and when, as we even saw in Ottawa, right? One of them is not available. Do you have enough confidence because your younger goaltender, your newer goaltender has enough reps to then support a Team Canada the way they would need to do? Anyway, let's continue on because we did get to hear from Hilary Knight at the Team USA Media Summit. This will be US skewed. It's Hilary Knight, but I specifically have clips of her talking about the rivalry because, of course, we have the Olympics coming up. A lot of people expecting that USA and Canada have a great chance once again to meet in the medal round. And the rivalry is always a topic of conversations as we are less than 100 days out from the Olympics. But here's what Hilary Knight had to say specifically about the United States, Canada, and what qualifies as poster board material.
Will always be there, and no matter how many other countries are dueling in the final game, that US-Canada thing will always be special, and it's awesome to see other countries invest more in their women's program and have more opportunity to be on those big stages, and we're going to see more of it as we continue to grow the sport, expand, have more touch points with different players, and we've had so much untapped potential so far. So I think that's when I'm outside of my strictly U.S. competitor role, I'm like, wow, this is awesome where women's hockey is going to be going in the next 10 years. When the puck drops, your heart is beating out of your chest. You're like, am I human? This is insane. This is awesome. And it's just, you try and create, at least for me, I try and create a quick contact point and then just try and get into the game. But yeah, the first shifts might be a lot of motoring of the feet, trying to water bug out there a little bit, get settled in, and then just get going. But I think some of the best games that I've been a part of is when I'm not thinking, and that's such like a beautiful place to be as an athlete when you're in that nice flow state. And so trying to get into a flow state in the biggest game of your career is definitely where you want to be.
Do you think you'll learn a lot with the upcoming Rivalry Series that you can kind of use against them once you get to the Olympics?
I think we pick up on different tendencies, and you're starting to see that just with league play, right? You get more reps against certain players and you're like, oh, okay, and you've got that mental memory of how they approach different situations. So yes, there's definitely some nuances that you can pick up and see where we stack up, barometer, and go back and figure out what works, what doesn't work, and get ready for the next game.
Got any trash talk you want us to get out? We could edit out swears if you want.
Yeah, I don't want to give any poster board material. I know better, because I would post it in ours, so. No, I think you get that spicy rivalry. Like, I don't know, that's the most respectful way I can really describe it. It's a beautiful rivalry. We bring out the best in one another because there's just so much pride. And I don't know if that's just generations and generations of sort of that clash on the world stage, or what that is, but the PWHL storylines are definitely going to be interesting this year and more complex, given that we're going to be hopping in and out of international play so frequently.
You mentioned earlier that bulletin board material and that you would maybe use it. Can you give us an example of bulletin board material that you've used in the past?
No. I'm sorry.
What's the most heated moment in any of the USA-Canada games that you've been part of?
Heated moment. Like a real heated moment would probably be, I want to say, the game in North Dakota. One of the, is it called the Quest Tour games?
Pre-Sochi?
Yeah, Sochi or Vancouver? Sochi? Yeah, that's one that I was like, we're really throwing down for real, and that was when tempers got very high and crazy. Like, that was a crazy game.
Do you remember what started it?
Yeah, there was just, you know, that sort of the unwritten hockey rules, and someone we thought crossed a line, and, you know, there's a high hit kind of thing, and then all of a sudden, chaos ensues. Lots of penalty minutes. It was insane. But yeah, I was excited, but also like a little bit scared because I was like, this is real. Like, this is really real.
Did you get involved? Or
Yeah, I was, yeah, we don't have to watch the clip. I ended up falling. Yeah.
I mean, the Rivalry Series has always been spicy, Rachel. And it's interesting because Hilary Knight said one thing, and then also Kendall Coyne Schofield was there as well. And she mentioned the brawl in Vermont. So, you know, there have been times where, you know, these two teams and the spicy rivalry, they're very, very real. And as Hilary and I said, that it doesn't go away. It's legit.
No love is lost. That is for sure. And I think that spills over into the fans for both teams as well. And it makes it extra fun, I think.
It sure does. And we have some Rivalry Series games coming up, Rachel. The United States will host the first two. We know from Team USA, at least, that they will get together a little bit of a break, especially for those who are just at the Team USA Summit, along with their staff. They will have a little bit of a break. And then tomorrow, as of this airing on Sunday, the team will get back together ahead of the games in Ohio. They will have some practices also. But then they will take on the Canadian contingency, whatever that roster may be, on November 6th at Rocket Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. And then on November 8th at KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York. And we will have someone at that game in Buffalo. And so we expect to hear from Angelica Rodriguez between the two Rivalry Series games to talk about and preview specifically what we will see in Buffalo. But on the other side, Rachel, we're going to talk about some signing news because some of the teams are still trying to fill out their training camp rosters. That's coming up on the Women's Hockey Report. This episode of the Women's Hockey Report also brought to you by FanDuel. Now, we know not only is it NHL season, but we've also got the NBA in full swing. And FanDuel is making sure you're ready with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers, if you bet just $5 and your $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. Now, you can take a look at player props, building same-game parlays, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. You can do it all on FanDuel. And I also talk a lot on the Locked On Kraken show about the futures bets you can take a look at. So even before the PWHL season starts, who are the fan favorites and what are you willing to put down on your favorite? But all right, what are you waiting for? Are you ready to play? Download that FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place that first $5 bet. All right, Rachel, we close out the show as usual, just with some more PWHL news. And at this time of year, which again is still spooky season, that means that we are figuring out how teams are rounding out their rosters. So, Rachel, what's the latest in signing news?
Yeah, so we got 3 signings from Vancouver's draft picks this week. We got Nina Jobe-Smith, who's a defender, signed a 2-year deal. She was 19th overall in this year's draft. Probably going to be a third pairing option for Vancouver, but obviously we'll see as camp progresses where everything comes out in the wash for all these players for sure. Brianna Brooks was the 32nd overall pick as a forward, got a 1-year deal. She has a chance of becoming, 4C for the team. She should make the squad, I think, but could be borderline in terms of cracking the lineup on a regular basis. Worst case scenario, I would say practice squad team for her. Maddie Samoskevich, I think, is a lot more likely to make the practice squad here, very borderline to make the team. But again, you never know with these camps, right?
And, it's something interesting that you also have here is that, Vancouver and Boston, they have definitely some decisions that they're going to have to make. And we talked about this earlier, but the structure of the games, even their proximity to each other, I think that for those maybe teetering on the edge, they're going to have to really show how quickly they can adapt and make changes and really respond to the feedback they're getting, because especially in Vancouver and Boston, it's a really tight roster that they're going to have to refine out of comparative to who they invited to camp.
Yeah, it is interesting because, we do have, a lot of depth in these team training camps coming up, whether it's new draft picks or it's camp invites. And when all is said and done, Vancouver is tied with Boston for the most cuts to make, with 9 overall, looking at what we've got so far. Some of the other teams only really have like 4 or 5 cuts to make. And it's a little unclear as far as this crop of players. Now that we're in year 3, what does that mean for, reserve like players, and in terms of their ability to commit to that over the course of the season? And we've seen 10-day contracts or temporary contracts get signed over the course of the last couple of years, as injuries occur. So the opportunities are going to be there for some of these players, even if they don't make the cut for day one.
Yeah, and that's, going to be interesting to see how all that plays out, again, across the board, and if and how the Players Association, as they continue to really strengthen. We've seen that they've put their support behind the WNBA players who are in the middle of contract negotiations. So I'm curious to see also if and how some of this changes because of what the Players Association is hoping to do. Anyway, that's almost the end of our show, but I have to go back to this classic. For those who don't know my hockey origin story, it starts with my favorite hockey player still to this day, or at least in part, starts with Blake Bolden. And Blake Bolden now is contributing over at ESPN and is able to hit the ice with some of your favorite NHLers and do some skills sessions with them. And so here's her latest with Macklin Celebrini. Hold on, we're going to pull it up here. Her latest with Macklin Celebrini, where they are doing a sharpshoot. They're doing a sharpshoot competition. And Blake Bolden shows why. Well, she's my favorite hockey player. She had to make all 3 to win, and boom, baby. That's exactly what she does against one of the top prospects in recent time in the NHL. Blake Bolden showing she's still got it. And I love it. Anytime we can see women continuing to show why women's hockey is one of my favorite sports, Rachel, I'm totally down for. And nobody better than Blake Bolden to show what shooting's all about, in my opinion.
Absolutely. An absolute legend of the game, and always love to see her involved in these things.
100%. So if you don't know who Blake Bolden is, go look it up because Blake Bolden is huge now, making huge strides, of course, breaking barriers when it comes to how we see women involved at the NHL level and bringing her talents over to the broadcast side. But we love to see it. Blake Bolden, you are an absolute legend always over here. But that'll do for this episode of the Women's Hockey Report. Again, Rachel Donner and Erica L. Ayala, your hosts here. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe to the Locked On NHL channel, and we have our Women's Hockey Report playlist. You can also check out the Women's Hockey Report on TikTok. We'll have more content from Hilary Knight and Kendall Coyne Schofield at Team USA Summit. You can also check out some more coverage over at Black Rosie Media, which is my entity and the company that I founded. But again, for Rachel Donner, Erica L. Ayala, and we will catch you on the next Women's Hockey Report next Saturday right here on the Locked On NHL channel for YouTube and also for audio.